This is Toronto Sports Rush. I'm Kyle. That's Keegan Matheson, of course. Keegan, for the last few weeks in Jays land, maybe the last month, let's say, so many of these conversations have been about the math, like what's the math to get into the playoffs? But it's time to put that conversation to bed because if we've learned anything about this baseball team through the first two games of this Rays series, it's at the separation between the kind of baseball they're capable of playing right now and the kind of baseball that puts a team in the playoffs is an enormous gulf that they're just not going to fill between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, the math will not save you at this point. And the Rays look like a team that is tailor made to beat the Blue Jays.
Mhm.
Like they are torturing this team the last couple of days. Like I'm bringing up the playoff odds here at this point. And whoa, they've dipped. Okay, I'm not even doing this for effect. They're down in the small single digits now, but and even that's tough to believe in at this
Yeah.
point. The Rays are perfectly built to expose this team because they play airtight defense. They don't screw up first. They're so good on the bases. Like the Rays team feels alive. Like there's an energy to that Rays team, and they're fun to watch, quite frankly. They
Yeah.
don't have the highest powered offense in baseball. I think they're 14th in runs scored, but their pitching is good. Their young star in Junior Caminero, who I just love. Like I think
Mhm.
he's one of
Mhm.
the most fun players in Major League Baseball. He's doing what Vladdy should be doing, and the roster works together in a complementary way. Like watching the Rays play, it's that same feeling you got watching the Blue Jays last year, where it's like, wow, this fits. Like this is put together on purpose and it works. The Blue Jays now, you're watching them play this team, it's a mess. Yesterday, the Tuesday game, the 12-2 loss, that was the worst feeling in a building in a long time. You know, this is Toronto. People aren't really going to boo the team. I saw a lot of people calling like, "Oh, loud!" Boo. It wasn't loud. Okay,
Yeah.
I've been in stadiums where they boo. It's 1 out of 10, but still, the fact you're hearing it at all in Toronto is kind of jarring. Where this team's at right now, and indifference is far more dangerous than people being upset at the team. And you see people leaving midway through the game. You see people turning off the game on TV, and I understand them, man. If I wasn't obligated to be there, I probably would have walked out too.
Watching that game last night, the point you just made really, really nails this. The way the Rays are right now is so reminiscent with a few differences here and there of the way the Jays were last year. We saw last night, forget the 21 hits. That's just the byproduct of a blowout. But they run the bases so well. They get the extra base so well. They play small ball so well in a game when you don't really need to. They just have put all of this together in the way the Jays had all of this put together last year offensively, and now their defense has collapsed as well. Like you don't hear a lot of talking, a conversation about the Rays pitching, but on all ends of the game right now, they're clicking the same way we saw the Blue Jays click last year, and the Jays just can't put this together.
They're just good everywhere, man.
Yeah.
Like they're a sneaky, scary playoff team. You can't be
Mhm.
really sneaky as the first place team, but I don't think nationally in the U.S. anyone's talking about the Rays too much. Like I'm not going to turn on First Take and hear Stephen A. with Rays takes, right? Like they are going to be very dangerous in the playoffs. And I mean, talk about moments that break a team, like the Blue Jays when you're getting bunt singles dropped on you that you can't even make a play on. Like that's where you just throw your hands up and it's like, please end this season. And what the Rays do so well is play to their identity. This year's Blue Jays team does not have an identity whatsoever, zero identity. And that's not something that happens every year. Frankly, it doesn't happen most years. Like last year was special because there was an identity. You knew who the Blue Jays were. But this year, like if someone asks me who are the Blue Jays, you describe it by absences. You describe it as
Mhm.
disappointments. I'm not telling you what they are. I'm telling you what they are not. That's not an identity. That's a shadow. And what we're seeing from them right now is a lot of guys searching for the identity.
Yeah.
And it's like nicknames, man. You can't just make one up. Like it's something's got to happen. You need to develop these things naturally. And last year the Blue Jays did. They had the
Yeah.
clubhouse for it, they had the roster for it. Everything just worked. And beyond the analytics, the roster building, the roster construction issues, there's part of this, and I know fans don't want to hear this because I'm going to sound like John Schneider saying like, "Oh, that's just baseball." There's certain seasons where it just works, and there's certain years where it just really doesn't. And they're in a year where nothing's worked. Everyone's had a
Yeah.
bad year at the same time. There's been no magic, no luck, no nothing.
Yeah, it's weird in baseball that things seem to collectively click, and just having an individual here or there not click doesn't make as much of a difference. But none of
Yeah.
these individuals have truly clicked. I mean, Ernie's having a pretty good season, but listening to the game last night, there was another side note that was, it's not that it was mildly depressing because it seems inevitable at this point that we may have seen Kevin Gausman's last start at the Rogers Center last night, but throughout the broadcast team did seem to be somewhat eulogizing his time with the Toronto Blue Jays as if it was inevitable. But I mean, to some degree, the way his, becoming a free agent, his time served, it does seem like he will be leaving this team in the next couple of weeks.
Feels like it, man, which sucks. I
One of the best free agent signings this team's ever
ever,
had. Yeah.
ever like you're never gonna match Roger Clemens, but you can't try to. And then any other argument is like Robbie Ray coming back on a 1 year deal, Marcus Semien on his 1 year deal, but those aren't big
Yeah.
swings.
Yeah.
In terms of big swings, this is as good as it gets. And not only for who Gosman's been as a pitcher, but what he's represented off the field. Like Gosman and his family, how they've embraced like living in Toronto and not making it this like, oh, we don't mind staying in Canada for 6 months. Like they've set up a life here. And who he's been around the clubhouse, who he was on the podium speaking throughout the postseason last year. Like Kevin Gausman is an alumni who I think should and I hope will be back here in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years at these events, and I think and I hope he'll be happy to do that because he genuinely likes it here.
Mhm.
I wish he had gotten that World Series ring last year.
Yeah.
That's one of the guys that Springer has his, Scherzer has his. I know they want one more, but Gosman is, I think, such an underrated pitcher across Major League Baseball, what he's done these last 5 years. And his journey to get here, man. Like he was drafted like top prospect back when he had a crew cut out of LSU, like number 4 overall. Next big thing coming in Baltimore, then he really wasn't. He sucked for a few years. He got traded, he got DFA'd, he got kicked to the bullpen, and he made this out of himself, man. It's a fascinating career, fascinating person, a thoughtful guy. Like the highest compliment I can give a baseball player in the media sense is that when I ask him a question, he thinks about it for a second. You know, I I don't need you to do my job for me and give me tear jerking quotes every single day. But if I say, "Hey, Kevin, your splitter sucked today. Why?" He'll take that 1 second pause and think, "Oh, why did it suck? Or why was it great?" And he's been such a joy to work with, man. And if there's a team out there, Atlanta, maybe Philly, who can give him a shot at this again, that would be pretty cool. I think Blue Jays fans would turn into fans of that team in an instance. But at the same time, he hasn't looked good the last few starts. So a team will still take the upside play on him,
Sure.
hoping they can get him back going in time for the postseason. But you're trading for him as a mid back end starter, not as your number 1 or number 2 whatsoever.
Yeah, your response there brings up a couple of questions for me, or just a couple of thoughts, really, because you wonder if he is one of the victims of the collective lack of clicking of this team. Because if you don't have offensive support, you don't have defensive support the way you did last year. It's very tough to put together a good season. Maybe he could find some resurgence in these last few months of this season for a team that needs him. And for his sake, if this is the case, I do hope he does. He deserves that. He deserves success wherever he lands. But the broadcast team was alluding to the idea that, well, he's a free agent and technically he could come back here next year. But it seems to me as though, with the direction this team probably needs to head, that probably wouldn't necessarily be in their best interest either.
Probably not. Look at Chris Bassett
Yeah.
last year. It's I feel like that's always the hope. Like, oh, they could just come right back. Traded that happened once, I guess, with Jimmy Garcia. They traded him to the Mariners. I think that was for Jonathan Clase, and then he just came back the next year. Like that's the dream if you're playing a
Mhm.
video game, sure. But we've seen tendencies. I mean, this front office has been around 10 years. We've seen tendencies at this point. They like to get, like, if you can draft and develop a Trey Savage, cool. But their plan A for pitching is to invest pretty big money in guys that are late 20s, early 30s.
Mhm.
You've seen it with Berrios. You saw it with Bassett's first deal, with Gausman, with Cease. They acquired Bieber. So they go after established, durable veteran pitchers. And then when Chris Bassett hit the market last offseason, I didn't get the sense that there was anything going on there. Now, Bassett was going into an age 37 season, a bit older than Gosman, but Bassett, I mean, he's run into back problems in Baltimore this year. I'm just bringing it up here. He has a 5.27 ERA, strikeouts are down. Like, it hasn't been good. And I, I hate commodifying this thing. Like, I hate having Bill Belichick brain of like, you want to just get rid of him a year early. It sucks that way. But the Jays we've seen this year with all of their pitching injuries, they can't afford to be caught on a decline with someone. Now, is this last month of Kevin Gausman? Is it a decline or is it a blip? Now, only 5 pitchers in Major League Baseball have thrown more innings than him active.
Mhm.
It's Max Scherzer and Patrick Corbin, who are on this team and not doing well. Then it's Justin Verlander, Jose Quintana, and Chris Sale. So, like, Gosman's up there, man. He has a
Yeah.
lot of innings on his body, and I think it's worn on him. There's also a possibility he doesn't pitch next year. You know, I think it was prior to the season. I believe it was in the Athletic that Mitch Bannon spoke to him, where he was like undecided. And Gosman has his 2 young daughters and his wife. Like, they're a young family that can do a lot of things. You know, once you've made your buck in Major League
Yeah.
Baseball, I think the math probably changes. And another compliment I'll pay Kevin Gausman is that I think he is a fully formed human being outside of baseball. Like, there are a lot of guys when I look at them, I worry about like, what are you gonna do? Like, when your first April rolls around, what unhealthy hobby or obsession are you gonna have to occupy your brain with? I think Kevin Gausman will be just fine. You know,
Yeah.
I think he can exist outside of this game. So I'm interested to see, man. It's definitely no certainty that he's going to come back at all.
He's so thoughtful about the game itself too. He may find himself in a position where he's speaking about the game or analyzing the game behind a microphone in his
Yeah, get
basement,
in the
like so many.
media, make the
Well, get in
real
the media.
money, Kevin Gausman.
Well,
All right,
because
let me tell you.
you alluded to that. He is such a thoughtful guy. He does give such good answers. And, whatever happens here, he deserves a proper send off, both from this Blue Jays team and from his career. I have a feeling this is a blip. I think he might have another year or two of good
Yeah.
baseball in him, but I think that depends a lot on where he lands. If he can land with a team that has him as a number 3, a number 4 starter, maybe throwing 4 to 6 innings 26 times a season, he could find himself in a good spot. So, we're a couple of weeks from the deadline here. What does a seller's position look like for this team? Because if they're not that, then they're just asleep at the wheel here.
Yeah, unless you pull off a Boston Red Sox win streak, like, you got it. You
That's
know,
not happening.
it's
It's not going to happen.
and I keep getting asked in the radio, like, "Is the season over?" And I'm like, "Listen, I don't want to put out that clip, okay? Like,
Sure.
it pretty
Yeah. Yeah.
much is, yeah. But I'm wary of putting out that clip. But it's you're there, live in reality at this point.
Hmm.
And the obvious candidate the Blue Jays have Gosman, Shane Bieber. I think honestly, if Shane Bieber has another good start, and you can tell teams look at these last 2 or 3, he's back. That's interesting enough. Like, you could
Sure.
get a legitimate prospect for that. Dalton Varsho, how does he fit a contender? I'm not totally sure. Is it a part-time outfielder, defender, where you hope that you're getting some power? I don't know. George Springer would fit someone as a veteran DH type. Like, it's his numbers don't overwhelm you, but there's a team out there, I guarantee it, that would say, look at his postseason track record, a veteran bat, a righty bat, et cetera, et cetera.
Leadership
Again,
guy.
yeah, but you're not going to get much, right?
No.
Jeff Hoffman probably interests me the most out of this whole group. He has 1 year remaining after this, so you've got control, and that's more valuable. And I know that in Toronto, people hear Jeff Hoffman's name and just get very angry immediately. And I get that. You remember the bottom of the ninth of the World Series, and you forget that he was elite the rest of the playoffs. I get how the fan brain works. I have that with my teams. But I promise you that a lot of contending teams will look at a guy who's striking out 14 or 15 batters per nine, who is getting a 50% whiff rate on his slider, which is stupid. There's going to be a team out there that thinks, man, if we can get this guy for the right 25 innings to end this season, like Hoffman could be the best bullpen addition in this trade market. He could also give up 6 home runs and piss off a new fan base, sure. But he is someone, and I think that people, if you take a deep breath, I think a lot of people can acknowledge this, that when he's at his best, it's really overwhelming and really good. And in the trade market, you're not looking for a 7-year reliever. You're just looking for a window of greatness. And Hoffman can do that. So that might be an opportunity to move off of some 2027 salary and do that. And then on the other side of all of this, I still think the Blue Jays can be long-term buyers. I still think if there's an outfielder out there or a starting pitcher
Oh,
and a team's looking to get out of some money, especially ahead of a new CBA and what that might bring, I don't know. But if there are teams looking to get out of some money, the Blue Jays can spend money and they can kind of get a jump start on the offseason. So it wouldn't be buying in the traditional sense. It's just kind of a head start on the winter.
yeah, because they're a long way from a rebuild. I mean, this
Yeah.
team, we were talking preseason that this team will make another run, and the bones of this are still there. They had all the injury problems, so it's going to be a very interesting trade deadline for them. Let's close here, Keegan, because we're now we're somewhat eulogize. You shouldn't eulogize the season, but I'm going to go ahead. Right before we started taping, producer Tim brought up a pretty good point. I want to ask your thoughts on this 50th anniversary season for this baseball team. Is it arguably the most disappointing season this team has ever had?
Yeah. It's right there on the sad Mount Rushmore of those seasons. The first one that came to mind was the 2013 season after that Marlins trade, where back then I even remember the betting favorites. That's back before not everything was framed as who's the betting favorite, but they were the World Series odds-on favorite, and they completely flopped. And 87 was another good example of that. But the when I go back to 2013 after that Marlins trade, that was all created hype and warranted. It was a big trade, sure. And I wish there would be more of those trades. Like, NBAify baseball for me, please. Let's get some more trades and chaos. But when I look back to them, the Jays weren't coming off a World Series. Like, this is earned hype. And it's around the whole league as well, because the rest of baseball became fascinated with the Blue Jays last year. Like, where the hell did this team come from, and how are they almost beating the Dodgers? And now, like, I get it just from other media who come into Toronto or who I'm talking to. It's just like, what's happening up there, dude? And I don't know. It's just all gone wrong at the same time. Like, if one more person stops me to ask me what's wrong with Vladdy, I might just take a sabbatical at this point. But it's right up there with the most disappointing all time. And it's because there's just so much attention on it too. Every night sold out. Last night was sold out too. Millions of people are watching this on TV, hoping to kind of recapture what they all felt last year, and it doesn't feel like it's close.
Thanks for that, Keegan. I'm sure we'll speak to you next week when they're halfway through their Boston Red Sox esque win streak,
Ooh.
which, the main problem with is that the Boston Red Sox are one of the teams they're chasing. So
Unreal. When we saw the Red Sox a few weeks back, I got to find this tweet and delete it. I tweeted out that I think that they will come 6th in the AL East. The Red Sox look like the worst team I had ever seen, and they've won 14 in a row. So you never know.
Remember when they fired their coaching staff with like an airport limousine or whatever the hell happened there? We are so far away from that. They're playoff bound, and they're kind of an exciting team to watch these days. Thanks, Keegan. We'll see you next week.
You got it.